And welcome back to the ASUS ROG Stars Invite Tournament here in Helsinki. We have advanced in this tournament to the next game, which is going to be between two players in the bronze match. But before we go there, I would like to remind you about the contest in uk.geforce.com/gameon. There is a slight problem there. There's actually a correction which should be made. It reads there that it's 200 to 250 words you have to type. It's actually 200 to 250 characters. So just put a smiley face on it and your information, that should be good, okay? So we're going to continue and let's give a warm welcome to Elfi. So Elfi, you in the first match you won against Huck. Do you think that WhiteRa is going to be a bigger problem for you?
Yes, I think it will be a bigger problem for me now. He's expecting 4 gates, so I have to do something else this time.
Excellent. And let's give a warm welcome for his contender, WhiteRa. So, hello again. So, you're going to go against the guy who actually beat Huck in PvP. Do you feel threatened about this?
I'm very scared.
Well, let's get the show on the road. If you could just... And there we go. I'll give it to Apollo and TotalBiscuit.
Well, we got to this point right now, and the finals is coming up directly after this matchup, but there's still some money to be played for. One of these guys will go home with nil points, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is going to be a best of 5 between these two great players. $1,000 goes to the winner. Nothing goes to the loser, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yes, and it comes down to a PvP, which is knife edge at the best of times, but we've seen Elfie's PvP skill against Huck, and it is nothing to be sniffed at.
Yeah, indeed it is. And just looking at the maps, we actually have Elfi, surprisingly, again, vetoing out Taldrim Altar, which I think would rather play to his style of 4-gate or no 4-gate, because it is still rather viable there. It's a lot easier. There is no ramp and so on.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of confusing. But on the other hand, we do have WhiteRa getting rid of Metalopolis. Doesn't like a nice wide area. And actually, that does play to WhiteRa's style. And talking about styles, this is going to be a clash of it because we have Elfi, who is so aggressive off the bat. Yep. On the other hand, we have WhiteRa, who's very defensive, very passive with his play. And even before the recent patch change, which allowed 4-gate to be a lot more defendable, WhiteRa was always that one Protoss player who could stop a 4-gate.
Yeah.
And now, with the patch changes, he's even better at doing it, of course. So this is going to be really interesting. And WhiteRa likes to expand. He likes to pull his tech out into the mid-game. On the other hand, Elfie wants to finish it early. So this is really going to be interesting to see how this one goes down.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting map to start off with when it comes to finishing it early as well. It's Xel'Naga Caverns. Yes, finally, we see a Xel'Naga Caverns matchup. We'll find out what's going to happen in this one. It's going to be pretty close. I mean, WhiteRa does have great PvP. Elfie also has fantastic PvP as well. Although WhiteRa can throw some interesting spanners into the works. He's got a lot of creative plays. I guess we're about to find out. And here we go, folks, on Xel'Naga Caverns for the bronze match for the ASUS Republic of Gamers Stars Tournament, as brought to you by ASUS Republic of Gamers and NVIDIA. It is my pleasure to introduce to you my first contestant in this particular matchup. Playing Protoss to the southwest here in the red trunks. He's from Team ASUS. Ladies and gentlemen, let me hear it for Elfie! And his opponent from the Ukraine. Playing for Team Thermal Taker Esports up to the northeast in the blue trunks, also playing Protoss. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for WhiteRa!
And Elfi, we talked about, he's very, very good in Protoss versus Protoss. Has this 72 win percentage in the matchup, and he also did beat Huck. But at the same time, despite being so good at this matchup, the defensive, the safer player will naturally have an advantage here a lot of the times if he can defend against whatever is given to him. And WhiteRa, like I've said, is that kind of player. So despite Elfi being so good, this still can go either way. And actually, these two players meeting previously as well, WhiteRa had won 4-1 in total. So it seems like WhiteRa has kind of an edge over Elfi.
Yeah, I would think so, honestly. And the thing that you should always, always never do is underestimate Elfi. Elfi's got some fantastic aggression, really good execution. His weaknesses, as we've seen before, appear to be in that of multitasking, but he's not dealing with a player like Select now. He's dealing with a player who is a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical, and that may give him the edge that he needs. His blinding speed that we saw from Select isn't going to be coming in from WhiteRa, although more unexpected tactics can be expected.
And we've already seen WhiteRa use a Chrono Boost onto the Nexus again here, and compared to Elfi, who hasn't, meaning WhiteRa will have a bit of a better economy, getting that little boost for the probes out there, and the Elfi will have to throw that, well, he's going to throw it into his Cybercore most likely here. And once again, Elfi is losing damage to a probe. We saw this against Huck as well, but look at that. He gets a surround and manages to pick it up. So there is no aggressive probe out there for WhiteRa. There is no potential for 4-gate. And look at this. WhiteRa goes for 2 gateway, which means 3 Stalker Rush. Really good against any 4-gate play, but it also hides what he's going to do extremely well.
Yeah, this is something that it never really got its way all the way into the meta game. When it first came out and when 4-gate was so incredibly prevalent, people were saying that this is the salvation, this 3 Stalker play from 2 Chrono Boosted gateways. But it never really got there. That said, it may work out quite well against Elfi here. The thing is, Elfi sees it and is placing a pylon in a very odd location there, right down to the bottom. He's actually
stopped mining gas, which is incredibly weird. And look at that, 1, 2, 3 comes 4-gate. So we're actually going to see a Zealot heavy 4-gate coming out here from Elfi, and the pylon is in the base, and the warp gate research is still 50 seconds away from coming, but at the same time, I don't know how this is going to work out so well. WhiteRa needs to throw down additional gateways right now to defend against this.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't have enough DPS to actually kill these pylons quick enough. That's the problem. That single stalk was walking away on that, and it didn't even get through the shields. The pylon is still up, and now he's got to try and kill 4 pylons with 3 stalkers before this big warp in comes in, and defend against any kind of pressure that prods him from the back. So it is quite dangerous, and honestly, I think that Elfi's going to get a good round of units in here. If you look at the timing, it's looking really good. His execution on this 4-gate play is absolutely flawless, and the variations on it, very strong indeed. We're about to see a warp in, I would imagine, from Elfi, and the question is, where does he decide to do it? A single Zealot right into the mineral line, followed by 3 more.
Yeah, he's going to be targeting down these Stalkers, making sure that they are in choke point areas, but more importantly, he can send a few to kill probes, and the probe count for WhiteRa is dropping insanely, and there will be another 4 Zealots on the way shortly to just target down as many probes as possible here.
Yeah, defending the 4-gate with this 2-gateway strategy only works if you're able to stop the probe and the initial scouting from getting there. If there are 3 pylons in your base, you can't defend 4 gates with 2 gates, unless, of course, your opponent does something incredibly wrong. Now, Elfi is continuing to produce probes, so I have to wonder, I think this is not actually designed to kill WhiteRa. He wants to continue to follow this up just a little bit, but WhiteRa trying to throw this back and taking huge economic losses in the process.
WhiteRa's lost 15 probes to this attack. Many Zealots have come in, done a lot of damage here. In the background, Elfi went into gas again as he finished warping in the second wave of Zealots and has a good economy. He's taken the second gas. He has 4 gateways of his own to defend against whatever WhiteRa decides to do from here. So Elfi using that tactic just for probe harassment to lower down the economy of WhiteRa. And now Elfi is looking in an absolutely fantastic position going into this mid-game.
Yeah, there was no way that that was all in or ever even intended to be. And we've seen Elfi put in something like that aggressive before and realize, oh, I can win at this point. That wasn't going to happen with just Zealots going in against Stalkers there, but the amount of economic damage that was done has slowed his opponent significantly. Now WhiteRa's going to be forced to try and get some tech going in order to catch up with this and try and do some damage. Elfi, no sign of an expansion just yet, not building any more probes.
I think what we're going to see now from WhiteRa is he's going to go into Dark Templar. This may be an option. If Elfi didn't get a robotics facility, he could win with DTs. But unfortunately for WhiteRa, he does have a robotics facility on the way. He will be able to get an Immortal out, an Observer more importantly at this point. And it looks like he's thrown down the Twilight Council. So he's going to be going into Blink with an Observer, making sure that his build is safe. He knows that he is far ahead because of his economy. He is miles ahead of WhiteRa right now, so everything that WhiteRa could potentially do will be stopped by Blink and Stalkers and Observer, of course.
Yeah, and that's the safe way to play, honestly. Don't try to get greedy and expand. Stay on one base for the time being. Anticipate that your opponent has to do something decisive in order to come back from a situation where he is far, far behind. That said, the longer he stays on one base, the more this probe count will equalize here. Elfie's still not building any probes, now finally deciding to follow that one up, and he will have to look to expand at some point. The question is when.
The biggest problem is going to be when these DTs come. There's only one observer out, and it is going across the map. The one thing that Elfie has to focus on is making sure that a DT doesn't come out. You can already see that his placement on top of the ramp is to prevent any DTs walking in, so he doesn't have to watch idly to make sure that he can see the wave in the ground. But he has this wall off to make sure the DT cannot come in, and easily can build a second observer. Is currently building a warp prism though, and in come the DTs. This wall off is complete, but there is no observers. He can just attack a zealot. And actually, one DT is in.
One DT sneaks in right there past the force field. That is messy stuff for Elfie right now, and WhiteRa looking to try and equalize here. That observer's going to need to be chrono boosted out, but honestly, that DT's got some time to just chop away. Elfie deliberately trying to obstruct the Dark Templar and make sure that it can't kill too many probes. It's only managed to get 2, and is now actually focusing on the military units. The second DT has broken through. WhiteRa focusing on the robotics facility. However, the observer does go out, and that means the DT is gone, and WhiteRa doesn't have an observer of his own to spot that, so that DT will be killed, but the robotics facility goes down first, and WhiteRa continuing to do a lot of damage to the tech. The question is, what happened with that warp prism? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it got cancelled to get that faster observer out, and now the going down of that robotics facility doesn't mean anything for Elfie. He doesn't care. He's got 2 observers out. He's got blink. He's just going to go with all blink stalker aggression with observers, so he can actually see, can I blink here? Can I not? He also has an observer in the main base, seeing this very zealot heavy style. Zealot charge is very good against blink stalkers, but if you can get a critical mass of zealots in front of your blink stalkers as well, you're going to be able to micro against this, and we are actually seeing some Archons coming out very, very shortly here for WhiteRa to help fight this army, which is definitely coming on his front door.
Yeah, I mean, he's equalized in terms of the probe count, but he doesn't have an expansion option just yet. Elfie doesn't either, really. There's a pylon at the back to try and prevent that from happening. Elfie's now going to start to get aggressive. 4 gates versus 4 gates here. Blink is available for Elfie. It is not available for WhiteRa, and his stalker count is very low anyway, so that doesn't really make too much of a difference. The Archons are actually not all that ideal. They do more damage to biological units, not mechanical units, so this heavy stalker count is going to start to pick those off. Charging zealots moving in right there, but a nice blink over the cliff edge so that those zealots can't get in, and a big salvo of damage going in WhiteRa's direction.
Yeah, with this observer, Elfie has such a good advantage to control and just out micro WhiteRa, and WhiteRa is not looking in good shape right now.
No, really he is not, and the Blink Stalker's proving to be more than a match for the Charging Zealots. The force fields do miss there for Elfie, so he's not able to catch anything out, but Elfie warps in an additional wave of units. Army supply count is looking something like that, which is not pleasant at all. Maybe, just maybe, if that was Zealot heavy against those Archons, that might work, but the Archons haven't even got a kill yet. They just don't do enough damage against a large group of blinking Stalkers, and they'll just take a lot of fire from the back there as well. WhiteRa trying to warp in unit after unit, and observers in place to make sure that no Dark Templar nonsense ends up happening there either. And WhiteRa just trying to hold the ramp as long as he can.
Yeah, he's trying to hold on, but to what end, to be honest, because the higher the count of the Stalkers goes, the more power that Elfie's going to have to just clean this army up, and slowly but surely Elfie is going to be able to just out-micro and outlast WhiteRa here. And Zealot goes by itself, not going to do anything, and Elfie is going to be able to micro and blink down once again.
Yeah, there's honestly no way that WhiteRa can win this, unfortunately. The final force is now collapsing, and Blink Stalkers from Elfie will be able to smash through there. There's the Blink, aggressively cleaning up the ramp, and the GG from WhiteRa.
Very clean play there from Elfie.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that aggressive 4-Zealot, 4-gate style there, doing so much damage to the economy, and then falling back onto the safest style there is that Blink Observer. And the reason why it's so safe is because it counters everything. Stargates, DTs, Immortal, Colossus play. Excellent play from Elfie.
Yeah, absolutely. He stayed ahead the entire time. That initial warp in, once again, not designed to kill WhiteRa, designed to do significant economic damage. It did the job. And one has to wonder, how many more variants of 4-gate will we see from Elfie? He's got quite a lot up his sleeve.
It would be interesting to see a sentry-heavy 4-gate. I'd like to see how that would work out.
Huck did that, if I recall correctly, at one point. It's not impossible, so you never know. We shall see. Whatever the case, folks, we're going to a brief commercial break. We'll be right back with the second game, which will be on Terminus SE at this, the ASUS ROG Stars Tournament.